ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशव वामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुराः सुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः. So in the last session we saw that Lord Krishna is ultimately summing up the Karma Yoga by the very well-known verse Manmana Bhava Madbhaktaha. And this is the verse which appears twice, as I told you, once at the end of the 9th chapter as the ending verse of the 9th chapter, and here as the last verse of Karma Yoga summary again. Now the final verse, the teaching verse, which is called as the Charama Shloka of Bhagavad Gita, the ending verse. Though after this there are some 12 verses which are not going to talk about the teaching anymore. With this, the teaching is absolutely, completely covered. And so now, what does he say here? In the 66th verse, this is the complete consolidation of Jnana Yoga. Let us see what this verse says. सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वा सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः. Now, if we look at this verse, if we look at the superficial meaning of this, there is nothing which looks anything near to Jnana Yoga. Then how is it that Jnana Yoga is summarized in this verse? Now let us try to see what is the superficial word by word meaning of this verse and see whether it anyway stands or goes anywhere near Jnana Yoga. What does he say? Sarva dharman parityaja. Hey Arjuna, give up all the dharmas. Ultimately, this is not the meaning, but if you look at it very superficially, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. Hey Arjuna, give up all the dharmas, give up all the good deeds, give up all the dharmic actions that you are doing. Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamekam. You surrender only to me. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. To me, Krishna. To me, Krishna, surrender to me. Give up everything. Give up all dharmas and surrender to me. Aham tva sarva papebhya mokshayishyami. I will release you from all your papas. This is giving us the superficial word by word meaning of this verse. But now we have to understand that the superficial meaning is not the real meaning of this verse. This is the importance of our Shastra in understanding our Shastra. This is one very important thing, that in most of our Shastra, some of the verses may look superficially very, very contradictory. They may look as if they are meaning something totally different when you see the superficial meaning of it. Therefore, a Vachya Artha or a Vachyartha or superficial word by word meaning or transliteration of the verse is not going to really tell us the correct meaning of the verse. So, what we have to understand here is this whole verse, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, stands for Jnana Yoga. And how do you say that this verse stands for Jnana Yoga? Here we have to go by what Acharya Shankara, Bhagwan Shankaracharya writes a bhashya on this particular thing. This is the most important thing here, because unless we see the bhashya, we do not understand that what this verse stands for. This verse stands for Jnana Yoga, and superficially, word by word, if you transliterate, there is nothing connected with Jnana Yoga. So now there is a big bhashya. There's one of the best and the largest of the bhashyas written by Bhagwan Shankaracharya in explaining how Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja stands for Jnana Yoga. Now, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, is it possible for Lord Krishna to say, give up all dharma? Ultimately, in the fourth chapter, he said, धर्मस्य ग्लानिः यदा यदा भवति यदा यदा धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति तदात्मानं सृजामि अहं धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे, he said. For the sake of establishing this dharma, I am going to come back again and again, he said. At the same time, he told Arjuna, this is a dharma yuddha, and you have to fight this war of dharma yuddha. You cannot escape from it, because this yuddha or this war is going to bring about dharma in the society. So Bhagwan Krishna stands for dharma. Ishvara and dharma are not different from each other. Ishvara stands for dharma and dharma stands for Ishvara. Therefore, if Bhagwan says Sarva Dharman Parityaja, there must be some other meaning for this particular thing. Lord Krishna, who has come as an avatara, Mahanarayana's, Mahavishnu, Narayana's avatara, he has come as to establish dharma back in the society. How can he tell Arjuna, whom he has been telling all this time, do your swakarma, do your swadharma, don't go away from dharma? He has been entire Gita, Bhagwan stands for dharma, and he says he has appeared on this earth to protect dharma and to protect the sadhus. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya, he has said. And when he has said these things, is it possible for Bhagwan to say Sarva Dharman Parityaja? Now, what is the meaning of this? Now, we have to understand one thing. Number one, when Bhagwan says Sarva Dharman Parityaja, he means Sarva Dharman, Sarva Adharman api Parityaja. That means what? May you not do anything which involves either dharma or adharma. Now, what is the meaning of dharma and adharma? It also stands for punya and papa. Dharma stands for punya and adharma stands for papa. So, when does one accrue punya? When a person does actions which are dharmic, when dharma is followed, we have seen that dharma, artha, kama, moksha, purusharthas. Dharma purushartha and moksha purushartha are considered to be the higher purusharthas. Artha and kama are considered to be the lower purusharthas. But then, whenever we want to accrue any punya, that is when we want to do any, when we have want to have punya phala accrued to us, we do certain acts of dharma which are told in the Vedas, Vihita, or else the way we understand, we do some actions of dharma, ishta karmas, purta karmas. So here, what Bhagwan Shankaracharya says is that dharma should be taken as karma. Sarva dharman parityaja means, number one, we have to understand sarva dharman, sarva adharman cha parityaja. What is the meaning of sarva dharman, sarva adharman cha? Sarva papan, sarva punyan cha parityaja. Dharma means punya. Punyan parityajya sarva papan parityajya. Give up all the punyas and papas. So if you have to give up dharma and adharma both, that means one has to give up identification with all the punyas and papas. Now, what is the meaning of giving up all the punyas and papas? When do we accrue punya and papa? By doing karma, isn't it? When we do a good karma, we accumulate punya phalas. When a bad karma, adharmic karma is done, then there is an accrual of papa or non-conducive, inconducive situations. Ultimately, what is punya? Those situations, those circumstances which give me sukha, which are conducive to me, which are brought about my karma, doing karma, which is a dharmic karma, because of which I accrue or I enjoy sukha. This is called as punya. What is papa? Because of my adharmic actions, I accrue certain dukkha situations which are not very conducive to me, which come to me in the form of roga, dukkha, adi, vyadi, etc. Therefore, ultimately, Bhagwan Shankaracharya says, what is the meaning of sarva dharman parityajya? It means sarva karman parityajya. So we have to understand here dharma has to be understood as karma. So sarva dharman parityajya means sarva dharman, sarva adharman api parityajya. When sarva adharman and dharman have to be given up, punya papas have to be given up. What is it that accrues punya and papa? It is ultimately the karma which accrues punya and papa. Therefore, sarva karman parityajya. This is what Bhagwan has been telling, isn't it? You have to give up all the karma ultimately. Now, Bhagwan himself has been telling, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatuhu tishtati akarmakrit. Okay. And also in the second chapter, he says that don't identify yourself with akarma. Okay. What does he say? That karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturvu ma te sangostu akarmani. Let there not be any sangha with akarma also. Now here, Bhagwan is again saying, give up all karma. Now what is the meaning of give up all the karma? Bhagwan himself is saying it is not possible to give up all karma. As a human being, when you have a body mind sense complex, karma is inevitable. One has to breathe, one has to live, one has to do all the karmas. If karma is inevitable, then how can Bhagwan say here sarva dharman parityajya, sarva karman parityajya? What is the meaning here is the meaning of Jnana Yoga comes here. That is Sarva Kartritvam Parityajya. What is Jnana Yoga? To understand, we have seen it in second chapter, we have seen it in the fourth chapter, fifth chapter, ninth chapter, 12th chapter, 13th chapter, 15th chapter. In all these chapters, which are Jnana Yoga Pradhana chapters, what does Bhagavan say? Ultimately, even when you do the karma, you have to do it in such a way that you have to understand that you are not the doer. You are the akarta atma. What is it that is doing the karma? Prakritehe kriyamanani karmani. See, since this is the ultimate teaching verse, that is all these things come into that. So where is the action taking place? Where are all the actions taking place? He says, give up all the actions. We can't give up all the actions. At the anatma level, actions are all the time happening. Then what is the meaning of giving up all actions? Sarva karman parityaja means what? Kartritvam parityaja. That means what? Understanding, jnana yogena, shastra shravanena, guru mukhena shastra shravanena, shastra adhyayanena, understanding what? I am not the body mind sense complex. I am not the karta body mind sense complex. I am the akarta abhokta atma. Where is it that the action is happening? The action is happening at the level of the body mind sense complex. The Prakriti, which is manifesting as the Anatma body, mind, sense complex, this is where the action is taking place. What did Bhagavan say in the fourth chapter? Karmani akarmayah pashyet, akarmani cha karmayah. What is Jnana Yoga? The one who sees no karma in spite of karma, the one who sees that the karma belongs to the body, mind, sense complex, the karma doesn't belong to me. Therefore, I am akarta atma. Therefore, wherever the karma is happening, it is prakritihi, it is maya karyam, it is the anatma body, mind, sense complex where all the actions are happening. If I understand this, that I, the Atma, I, who is the Atma Swarupa, is Akarta Abhokta. Akarta Atma. Second chapter he said, if anybody thinks that he is the killer and another person thinks that he is the killed, Ubhau tau na vijanita. Both of them do not know. What they do not know? There is na hanti na hanyate. There is no killer and nobody getting killed. What is the meaning of this? The one who kills is the body mind sense complex. The one who gets killed or destroyed is the body mind sense complex. Who am I? Na hanti. I am neither the killer, na hanyate, nor am I the one who gets killed. So, where is all the action happening? All the action is happening at the level of the body mind sense complex. Anatma is the place of all action. Gunaha guneshu vartante. Indriyani indriyarteshu vartante. Aham na kinchit karomi. That's what he said in the fifth chapter. So we have to bring all these things, when the final verse is being talked about, all this teaching has to be brought in. So what does Bhagavan say here? Sarva dharman parityaja means, number two, not dharma here. What it means is any karma which leads to any dharmic or adharmic action, doesn't matter. Give up all the karmas. Sarva dharman parityajya means sarva punyan papanscha parityajya. How to get rid of punya and papa? Sarva karman parityajya. What is the meaning of sarva karman parityajya? Understanding by Jnana Yoga, by what our Upanishads are telling, Atma aham akarta asmi. Then where is the action happening? Is there no action happening? I am speaking now. Where is this action happening? Is it happening in the Atma? Is Atma the speaker? No, it is the Vakindriya, the body mind sense complex, taking, borrowing consciousness from me, the Atma. This speaking action is taking place. I, the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, as an Upadrashta, as an Anumanta, I, the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, is blessing the Vakindriya to do its action of speaking. I am in no way involved with the speaking action. What is it that is speaking? It is the body mind sense complex. The Vakindriya, according to its particular prakriti, is doing the karma of Vak, backed by me, the consciousness. I am not the speaker. Who am I? Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manoyat, Vachoya Vacha, Sau Pranasya Prana. I am the very power, I am the very Vak of the Vak. I am that consciousness because of which the Vak Indriya is able to speak. You people are listening. You, the Atma, is not the listener. The Shravanendriya is listening, backed by, blessed by this consciousness, Kshetrajna. So, who am I? I am the Kshetrajna, Upadrishta, Anumanta, Atma, who is the Akarta, Abhokta, and really speaking, there is no action happening by me or in me. All the action is happening in the body mind sense complex. I, the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, is a mere witness consciousness of every action that is happening, and I bless every action that is taking place in the body, mind, sense complex, whether it is an action of dharma or adharma. This is the meaning of sarva dharman parityajya. See how, see how Bhagwan Krishna has brought in the entire teaching of the Upanishads in just two words, Sarva Dharman Parityaja. And where does he take the backing for this? Not from anywhere else. From all these verses, if we listen again to Bhagavad Gita, we'll understand what this Jnana Yoga means. Jnana Yoga means seeing myself as the Atma, which is in no way connected with the Anatma. I am the Asanga Atma. I am the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma Swarupa. I am the Akarta Abhokta Atma. Incidentally, I, this Atma, has a body associated with it, but whatever the body does, I have nothing to do with it. I merely, by my presence, bless this body, mind, sense complex to do its actions. Therefore, who am I? I am Akarta Atma. Aham Akarta Atma Asmi. Aham Akarta Chaitanya Rupi Atma Asmi. This understanding is called as Sarva Dharman Parityajya. This is the crux of the meaning of understanding where the action is taking place. So, give up all the karmas. That is what he's telling. Sarva Dharman Parityaja. How to give up all the karmas? Does it mean that I stop doing all actions from tomorrow? No. Wherever I am, whatever is the script that is given to me, whatever is the thing which I am supposed to do, whatever is, my in this particular situation, in this setup, wherever I am, whatever Ishvara has given me to do, doing my swadharma, doing my swakarma, understanding fully well that what is it that is doing all these actions? It is the body, mind, sense complex. I, the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, is not the doer of any action. Aham akarta atma asmi. This understanding is what is called as Jnana Yoga. This is what all our Upanishads are teaching us. Who are you? You are Nitya, Shuddha, Buddha, Mukta, Akarta, Abhokta, Asanga Atma Tvam Asi. And you are nothing but that Brahman, Tat Brahmatvam Asi. This is the crux of Jnana Yoga, which Bhagavan has talked about in all these chapters. And this is what he means by Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Give up the Kartritvam. Give up the Kartritvam to the body, mind, sense complex. Don't say, I am the doer, I am doing this. No, give up Kartritvam. Sarva Dharman Parityajya means by understanding, by this knowledge, giving up of all Kartritvam and leaving the Kartritvam to where it belongs. The Kartritvam belongs to the body, mind, sense complex. Therefore, I am not the Karta. Giving up the very Kartritvam, this is what is called as Sarva Dharman Parityajya. See, so loaded it is. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. May you surrender to me, only to me. Now, what is this Mam? Here also we have to now take up the entire Bhagavad Gita. Mam Ishwaram Sharanam Vraja. Sharanam Vraja, come to me, surrender to me. Which me here? In Karma Yoga, Bhagwan talked about surrendering all one's action to where? Hriddeshe Ishvaraha Tishtati Tameva Sharanam Gacha. So when Bhagwan says Mam, Ishvara can mean three things. Ekarupa Ishvara, my Ishtadevata. I am doing puja, japa of my Ishtadevata. Ishvara can be Ekarupa Ishvara, my Ishtadevata Rupena. Ishvara can be Vishwarupa Ishvara, as we saw in the 10th chapter, in the 11th chapter. Bhagwan, Ishvara or Brahman manifesting itself as the entire Jagat, Vishwarupa. Vishwarupa Ishvara it can be. Or it could be mere Brahman, Nyeya Vastu, Kshetrajna, as it was talked about in the 13th chapter. So, Mam Ekam Sharanam Raja means, may you surrender to me. May you surrender to me only. Which kind of me? Is it an Ekarupa Ishvara? Surrender to the Ishta Devata? Fine. As a Karma Yogi, I surrender to my Ishta Devata. As an Upasaka, I surrender to the Vishwarupa Ishvara. But here, what is Bhagavan talking about? Mam Yekam Advitiyam Nirguna Brahmarupi Ishwaram Sharanam Vraja. May you come to me as that Arupa Ishvara. May you understand me as that, not as Ekarupa Ishvara. That's okay. I am also in the form of Ishta Devata, Ekarupa Ishvara. I may also be in the form of Vishwarupa Ishvara. But when you come to Jnana Yoga, how do you approach me? Not with the name and form. I, this Brahman, without a name and form, again Nitya Shuddha Ishvara, Sakshi Rupena, Sarva Bhutanam Hrid Deshe Tishtati, which was talked about in the last session. May you come to me, may you approach me, may you understand me as that Nirguna Brahman. As a karma yogi, you have taken me by your side as your Ishta Devata and offered all your actions to me and received prasada from me. And as an Upasaka, as Vishwarupa Ishvara, you have seen me as the entire world as nothing but my manifestation. But as a Jnana yogi, as a Dhyana yogi, how do you look at me? Not with any name and form. May you come to me and may you surrender to me, who is in the form of nameless, formless Brahman. Nirguna Brahma Rupena, may you know me. This is Jnana Yoga. So, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja means Mam Ekam Advitiyam Brahma. I, this Ekam Advitiyam Brahma, may you surrender to this Ekam Advitiyam, nameless, formless Adhishtanam of this entire universe. I know it is difficult to understand, but ultimately, this is what is moksha. And this is what is going to free me from all my papas. Here he tells in the next slide, Aham tva sarva papebhya moksha ishyami. This is a promise, he says. If you know me as that Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Ishvara Brahma Atma, and if you see that Brahman as yourself who's an Akarta and a Bhokta Atma, then it means that you have given up all your karma, sarva dharman, sarva karman parityajya. So when you say sarva dharman parityajya, it means sarva karman parityajya. And what is the meaning of sarva karman parityajya? Sarva kartritvam parityajya. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. May you understand that you are not different from me, Brahman. Jiva Brahma Aikyam is ultimately Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. See yourself as the Akarta Atma, Asanga Atma, and see yourself as non-different from me. This is the meaning of Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. See how different. If not for Bhagwan Shankaracharya's Bhashya, one of the most wonderful bhashyas of Bhagavad-gita, we wouldn't know what Bhagwan is saying because this is a very cryptic thing. This is how the teaching is. And since this is the ultimate teaching verse, where did the first teaching verse start? In the 11th verse of the second chapter, it started. Okay. What did it say? Ma Shuchaha, he said. Hey Arjuna, you do not really need to grieve over anybody. There is no need to grieve over anybody because there is nobody who's really going to be killed here. All are Atma Swarupas. There is no Bhokta here. There is no Karta here. Gatasu agatasunchna nanu shochanti pandita. Pandita. Panda yesham asti te panditaha. What is this panda? Knowledge. Brahma Vidya is panda. People who know, people who understand this. Brahma Vidya. What is this Brahma Vidya? Atma Vidya, Brahma Vidya mean one and the same. What is the meaning of this? I see myself as that Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Brahma Atma I am the Akarta Atma, and I don't see myself different from that Adhishtanam, Sarva Jagat Adhishtanam Brahma. I don't see myself separate from that. Seeing this understanding is the ultimate Jnana Yoga. And with this, what happens? He says, Aham tva sarva papebhyaha mokshayishyami. Naturally, when this knowledge dawns, what happens? All my previous samchita karmas are burnt away. I don't accumulate any agami karmas. The prarabdha karma is worked out by the body, which has already started working out the prarabdha karma. All these care of Tattva Bodha. The Tattva Bodha talks about what? What are sanchita karmas? How the sanchita karmas, all the sanchita karmas, once and for all are burnt away by this knowledge. What is agami karma? When kartritvam itself is not there, sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute jnanagnihi. Hey Arjuna, sarva karmani bhasmasat kurute jnanagnihi. This knowledge, this jnana, this agnihi, this fire of knowledge, this spark of knowledge completely destroys all my accumulated papas and punyas. All that sanchita karmas that are accumulated are gone. Why? I am no longer the karta. When there is no karta, in whose account will all the karmas be? Because now I am considering myself as karta. Why? Because I'm identifying with the body, mind, sense complex. I am the body, I am the mind, I am the sense complexity. I'm identifying myself with all the anatma layers of my body, mind, sense complex. And I now consider myself as a karta, as the bhokta, as everything. But once I understand that I'm not the anatma body, mind, sense complex, I am this Atma Swarupa, Akarta Atma. When I have this knowledge itself is called moksha. And what does this fire of knowledge do? Just like one spark of fire can destroy a huge bale of cotton, similarly, all my papas are completely removed. Papas include punyas also. All my sanchita karmas are totally burnt away by this knowledge. Therefore, aham moksha rupena, as the very Brahman moksha swarupena, aham tva sarva papebhyaha, all your papas Arjuna, moksha yishyami. I will just dissolve all your papas. I means who? Here, Lord Krishna is not talking as Saguna Ishvara. Bhagwan Krishna is talking here as Nirguna Brahman, Brahma Swarupa. Once I attain that, Jnani Bhakta, he says, Mameva Yeshyasi, Jnani Bhakta, Mama Atma Eva, Jnani Bhakta. Who's this Mukta Purusha? He's the Jnani Bhakta of the 7th chapter. The one who has understood that he is no longer a Karta, all the karmas are happening at the body mind sense complex. I am the pure Atma Chaitanya who's not the doer, and I am not different from Bhagwan. I am not different from Brahman. This understanding, this jnani is a sthita prajna. This jnani is called as a mukta purusha. This jnani is called as a jivan mukta. He also does not come back again. Na bhuyo abhijayate, 13th chapter he said, doesn't come back again. He is a videha mukta. Therefore, this person, Arjuna, who has this knowledge, is capable of burning away all the sarva papebhyaha, from all your papas. I will release you. I means what? This knowledge. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. That means what? Surrender to me my teaching. What is the meaning of Mama Sharanam Vraja? May this jnani surrenders to Ishvara's teaching. Understanding that this teaching is also coming from this Ishvara. All this time as a karma yogi and as an upasaka, I surrender to the Ekarupa Ishvara, my Ishtadevata, Vishwarupa Ishvara. But now, as a Jnana yogi, I surrender to that Nirguna Brahman, to the very teaching of this Ishvara, by which I attain none other than this Ishvara or Brahman. Here, Ishvara and Brahman are Paryaya Pada. Sarva papebhyaha moksha ishyami. This is the phalam of Jnana Yoga. And who gives this guarantee? Sarva papebhyaha moksha ishyami. You get this knowledge, Arjuna, you are free from entire samsara. All your raga, shoka, moha, vishada that you are having, ultimately it will end only with jnanam. Sarva karmani jnane api parisamapyate. In jnanam only all the karmas have to end. Karmas have to end means what? All the karmas find themselves to reach a stage of nullification or zero in this jnanam. A person understands that he is not the karta anymore. This is the very meaning of sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah moksha ichhami ma shucha. There is nothing for you to grieve over. Ma shucha was talked about in the 11th verse of the second chapter, the first teaching verse. Here it ends with Ma Shucha again. The final teaching verse, the 66th verse of the 18th chapter, which happens to be the final teaching verse, ends with Ma Shucha. So that means what? Understand by Jnana Yoga that you are not the Karta. Surrender to this teaching of Bhagwan, which is nothing but the teaching of the Shastra and Upanishads. Understanding that you are not the Karta, having given up the Kartritvam, and having seen the oneness or abheda between you and Brahman, this knowledge itself, this moksha itself, is the result of this knowledge, and it burns away all your sanchitas, all your agamis, and for whatever time this body is alive, this will work up the prarabdha which has already started, and ultimately, with the fall of prarabdha, this body will also fall away. So this, with this, the entire teaching of Bhagavad Gita is completed. But then Bhagwan cannot stop like this suddenly, and therefore he gradually lands down and winds up the entire teaching. And from the 67th verse onwards till the 78th verse, Bhagwan is talking about various other things. Till the 73rd verse. Lastly, last 5 verses, the master of ceremonies, Sanjaya, comes back and concludes the entire Gita. Now let us see what Bhagwan says in the 67th verse. He says, now Bhagwan wants to talk about who is an adhikari for this knowledge. This Bhagavad Gita knowledge, being the very summary of Vedanta, being the very central teaching of Vedanta, should not be given to anybody and everybody unless they ask for it. See, it is always asked, why only Arjuna got this knowledge? Why Bhima was there? Dharmaputra was there, Nakula Sahadevas were there, Bhishma was there, Drona was there. Karna was there. So many other. Forget Duryodhana. He is not going to ask. What about all the others? It is said that it is Arjuna who surrendered to the Lord, accepted Bhagwan Krishna as his guru, and asked for this knowledge. Therefore, Bhagavan gave this knowledge. It is said that the knowledge of Vedanta should never be given when it is not asked for. So now here in the 67th verse, he says, this knowledge should not be given to whom? Who are the adhikaris for this knowledge? Bhagavan Krishna talks about in the 67th verse. Idam te na tapaskaya na bhaktaya kadachana na ashrushrushave vachyam na cha mam yobhyasuyati. Arjuna, 4 types of people should not be given this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. This should not be taught or this should not be talked about. Who are those 4 types of anadhikaris? Who are the people who don't deserve this knowledge? Number 1, atapaskaya. Atapaskaya, the one who does not have discipline. The discipline at the level of the body, discipline at the level of the vak, discipline at the level of the mind. Sharira, vak, manas, tapaha. Also, it should be a Satvika Tapaha. So, what is this discipline? Care of 17th chapter. In the 17th chapter, Bhagwan Krishna talked about Kayika Tapas, Vachika Tapas, Manasa Tapas, Satvika Tapas, Rajasa Tapas, Tamasa Tapas. So, a person who is either a Rajasa or Tamasic tapas who follows, or a person who does not have any discipline as far as the Sharira, Vak, and mind are concerned, such a person, undisciplined person, does not deserve this knowledge. Then, Abhaktaya, Abhaktaha, a person who does not have bhakti in me. There are people who criticize Bhagavad Gita. There are people who criticize Lord Krishna. They say Krishna talks about Amanitvadi values, but in the 10th chapter and 11th chapter, he glorifies himself. So much ahankara Krishna is having. This is what people talk about. And many of the people listen to Bhagavad Gita only to find fault with what Krishna says, what Krishna does. See, unfortunately, in our Shastra, many times the Vachyartha is not the correct meaning. We have to go behind the words and see the Lakshartha, just like we saw just now. Sarva dharman parityajya. If you read that, anybody can interpret it in any way. So, whatever teaching Lord Krishna has done all this time in these 18 chapters can just be wasted in one verse by not understanding this properly. Like that, our Shastra, our Vedas, many times talk in, very, very cryptic way, and whatever it looks like, whatever a particular verse looks like, it may not really mean the same. Therefore, it is very necessary for us to learn the Shastra from a guru who knows how to explain the hidden meaning of the words, to open up the words of the Shruti and give the hidden meaning of what the Shruti says. It is very important to go with the guru. That is why it is said that, Swatantrena Brahma Vicharam na kuryat. Even a Shastragna should not do independently, Shastra Vichara, because the Shastra can sometimes be very, very confusing. So, if a person does not have bhakti in me, if a person does not have bhakti in Ishvara, such a person becomes very, very critical, and he will not take anything as valid as a pramana. It is only a bhakta, it is only a person who is willing to take Ishvara by his side and who has the astikya buddhi and shraddha in Ishvara and Shastra. Such a person only can benefit with this knowledge. If a person is an abhakta, he is not going to benefit. On the contrary, he may criticize. Therefore, Arjuna, don't give this knowledge to a person who is not having shraddha and bhakti in Ishvara and Shastra. So, idam te na atapaskaya na abhaktaya kadachana vachyam. It should not be told or given. Na cha ashushrusave. Shushrusha means shrotum ichha, a desire to listen. If a person does not show any desire to listen to the Bhagavad Gita, don't force such a person. A person may say, I am living an ethical life, I am doing everything that has to be done, I am paying my taxes, I am a very, very sincere citizen of this country, I don't need any jnana, I don't need any Bhagavad Gita, I don't want anything, I am not interested in. There are people who say that. I don't need, I am very happy the way I am. I don't need to listen to anything. I don't need Shastra. I don't need to listen to Bhagavad Gita. There are people who say that. For such people, don't force this on them because it will not teach. They are not prepared to listen. A person should have the desire to listen. Only when a person has a desire to listen, give this knowledge to such a person. And also, yo mam abhyasuyati, the one who's very critical and only wants to find fault with whatever is going on. If a person is studying the Shastra only to find out the loopholes and the contradictions and to find out what is not correct, then for such a person, the Shastra is not meant for that. It is only meant for a person who's able to see what the Shastra is telling, go with the Guru, along with the Guru, and try to sort out the confusions and contradictions by Mananam and Nididhyasanam. Only for such a person, Gita Shastra is meant. Therefore, hey Arjuna, don't give this Gita Shastra to any person who is not a disciplined person, who is not a bhakta, who is not an Ishvara bhakta, and a person who is very critical, finds faults with whatever the teaching is, and a person who is not interested in listening. Please don't force this knowledge upon any of such people. Next, in the 68th verse, he says, he praises the Guru of Gita Shastra and also the listeners of Gita Shastra. Because this Bhagavad Gita is a Jnana Yajna. The speaker, the teacher also is benefited with this Jnana Yajna. The Jnana Phalam, Yajna Phalam comes for the listeners also, committedly those who have sat and listened to this entire Gita Shastra. That Yajna Phala is accrued to the listeners also. So now in the 68th verse he says, Ya imam paramam guhyam madbhakteshvabhidasyati dasyati bhaktim mayi param kritva mame vaishyatya samshayaha. So he says, Imam paramam guhyam, this exalted knowledge, this Gita Shastram, which is Paramam, Guhyam, secret and sacred knowledge, Mad Bhakteshu Abhidasyati, the one who teaches this, shares this knowledge, gives this knowledge, whatever he has understood clearly, gives this knowledge to others. Bhaktim Mayim Param Kritva, even this teacher of Bhagavad Gita, the giver of this knowledge has to be a bhakta. Without being a bhakta, he can't give out this knowledge to anybody. Even to be a speaker, even to talk about this, what Bhagwan is telling, unless I have extreme bhakti and shraddha in Lord Krishna, in our scriptures, and in what Bhagavad Gita is saying, what our scriptures are saying, unless I have that extreme astikya buddhi, unless I have that extreme shraddha and bhakti and surrender, it is not possible for me to talk about this to anybody. Therefore, he says, this giver of knowledge, this teacher of Gita Shastra, who himself is a bhakta in me, such a person, mameva yeshyati asamshayaha, he reaches me. This Bhagavad Gita teacher ultimately reaches me because he is doing what I'm doing right now. Arjuna, you are my only one student. I have taught you. But a Gita Acharya, a teacher of Gita, is spreading my knowledge, whatever I have given. I have come here paritranaya sadhunam vinachaya dushkritam dharma samsthapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge, correct. But the most important purpose of my life is as Gita Charya. I have come here to give the scriptural knowledge to the society, to the world. And through you, I have given this knowledge to the world. And anybody who helps me in spreading this knowledge, anybody who spreads this, what I have given you, the one who teaches this Gita Shastra to the others, such a person is very, very dear to me. And again, he continues to praise the teacher of Gita Shastra. He says in the 69th verse, Nacha tasman manushyeshu kaschinme priyakrittamaha bhavita nacha me tasmat anyah priyataro bhuvi. Bhuvi, in this world, on this earth, the one who's dearest to me is the teacher of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan Krishna says here, Nacha tasmat manusheshu, among all the people, bhuvi here, na cha me priyataraha. There is nobody else who's more dear to me than a Gita teacher. Tasman manushyechu kaschin me priyakrittamaha. If there is anybody, if there is any person on this earth who is very, very dear to me, it is none other than a person who's spreading my message, this Gita Shastra, teaching this Shastra. Of course, to teach also, one must understand properly. It's not as if that I just listen to Bhagavad Gita for 10 sessions or something and then I start teaching. That's not possible, because I should be first convinced of this knowledge. I should understand what Bhagwan Krishna is saying. I should first understand Guru Mukhena. I should have done the study of the Shastra. I should have done the Bhashya study of Bhagavad Gita, seen all the possible contradictions that can arise. I should have done enough of Shravanam, enough of Mananam, enough of Nididhyasanam, and this thing should become, is something which should be the truth for me. Then only I can talk about it to others. Without that, it is not possible to give out this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. I may be able to teach how to chant, that is different. Learning to chant is great, it is good, it is also a punya karma, no doubt about it. But what actually the verses mean, what is the meaning of Bhagavad Gita, if this Gita Shastra has to be taught, this is something which a person should have made very, very clear to himself or herself. Therefore, Arjuna, Bhavita na cha me tasmadanyah priyataro bhuvi. There'll be nobody else in future also, now also, in the future also. There is nobody else who is as dear to me as a Gita Acharya, a Gita teacher. Now, what about the listeners? What about the Shishas? What about the people who are listening to it? There also, Bhagwan now in the next two verses, he talks about them. He says in the 70th verse, he says, Adhyeshyate chaya imam dharmyam samvadamavayoho jnana yagnena tenaham ishtasyamiti me matihi. So, adhyeshyate imam dharmyam avayoho samvadam. This samvada between me and you, avayoho samvadam, a person who studies, who listens to the Guru, who listens to a person who is giving up this knowledge, the one who studies, does enough vichara on this imam dharmyam. Dharmyam means what? This teaching which is going along with the teachings of the Shastra. That's why Bhagwan says, idam guhyam dharmyam. Arjuna, I am not telling you something out of my own idea. No. Whatever I have taught you, whatever I am teaching you, is what the Shastra tells me. I am telling you exactly what the Upanishads are telling. This teaching of Bhagavad Gita is Upanishad Saraha. Therefore, being what the Shastra tells, going along with the Shastra, this is Dharmyam. Dharmyam means that which is exactly what the Vedanta proclaims. This is what I am giving. And this Samvada, which is nothing but what has been taught, what has been told in the Vedas, such an exalted thing. Whoever studies Jnana Yagnena, Tena Aham Ishtaha. Jnana Yagnena. This is a yajna. Study of any scriptures is, that's why it's called Brahma Yajna. Brahma Yajna is the highest. Jnana Yajna is the highest of all the yajnas. Bhagwan said in the 4th chapter. That is the Uttamam. That is the highest of the yajna. That is the highest of the worship that you can do. Studying the Shastra and understanding what the Shastra says. So, Tena aham ishtaha syam iti me matihi. And this person who is the student of Bhagavad Gita, who studies Bhagavad Gita seriously as it is something which is told in the Shastra, such a person is dear to me. And then he says, Shraddhavan anasuyascha shrunuyadapi yo naraha sopi mukta shubhan lokan prapnuyat punya karmanam. Even a casual listener, this is, he says, forget about the serious student who was talked about. For him, moksha only is the final result. Gradually, karma yogena, upasana yogena, jnana yogena, ultimately jnanat kaivalam. Ultimate phalam for a person who is a serious student of Gita Shastra, moksha is the phalam. For even for a casual listener of Gita Shastra, he says, with shraddha and anasuya, with shraddha and without a very, very critical attitude of the mind. Even if a person, shrunuyadapi yo naraha, a person who casually listens to this shastra also, saha api muktaha, he also ultimately gets interest in it and gets free. If not, that the phalam of even a casual listening is Shubhan Lokan Prapnuyat Punya Karmanam. This person with Punya Karma reaches heaven. See, for a casual listening, the phalam is Swarga. For a serious study of Bhagavad Gita, it is nothing short of moksha. Now, in the 72nd verse, Bhagavan wants to confirm whatever he has already talked to Arjuna. Has it made any sense to him? If not, he'll have to start the 19th chapter and maybe another 18 chapters. So Bhagwan wants to know now whether he should conclude it or he should again start summarizing Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. So in the 72nd verse, he says, Kachidhetat Shrutam Partha Tvayaikarena Chetasa Kachid Ajnana Sammohaha Pranashtaste Dhananjaya. Hey Dhananjaya, has your confusion gone or still you are in confusion? Is your Vishada gone? Are you still thinking of, oh, all these people are dying, therefore let me leave everything and go away? So, pranashtastehe dhananjaya kachid mohaha, this ajnana sammohaha, this kind of confusion and delusion which you had, Arjuna, has it gone? Have I successfully removed this? See, even Bhagwan Krishna wants to know whether his teaching has been successful. So, hey Arjuna, has your moha cleared? Has your confusion cleared? He's asking. For that, 73rd verse, Arjuna says, Nashto moha smritir labdha tvat prasadan mayachyuta sthitosmi gata sandheha karishye vachanam tava. Hey Bhagwan, yes, my confusion, my delusion is gone. Now I know that fighting this war, this dharma yuddha, is my duty. It is my swadharma. I have understood that at present I have to do this work of fighting this war as karma yoga. And with this karma yoga, I am going to get chitta shuddhi, which is going to make me a jnana yogya. And with this Jnana Yogyata Prapti, from whatever you have talked to me, the Dharmyam, the Upanishad Sandesha that you have given to the entire Shastra, I know ultimately I am going to reach you only. So, hey Krishna, Tvat Prasadat Maya Achyuta Nashto Mohaha. My moha, my delusion, my vishada, what to do, what not to do, all my doubt, all my raga, shoka, and moha is cleared. Not because of me, but because of your prasada. Tvat prasadat achyuta maya mohaha nashtaha smritir labdha. Now I have understood this. Whatever you have wanted to say, whatever you want me to understand, hey Bhagwan Krishna, I have understood it. Sthitosmi gata sandehaha. Now I don't have any more doubts. What will happen to the society? What will happen to the pitrus who are in the pitruloka? What will happen? So much of damage will be there. So many people are going to die. My own swajanas are going to die. All that, no longer that shoka is there. Sthitosmi, I stand here in front of you. Gata sandehaha. Now I am completely free of all sandeha. Karishye vachanam tava. Hey Bhagwan, I will do what you say because I have surrendered to you. I know that whatever you are telling me is for my good. You want me to be a karma yogi now, and ultimately you want the highest shreyas or moksha for me. And with your prasada, with your teaching, whatever confusion or delusion was there so far in me, that has completely gone. And hey Krishna, I am convinced now. Karishye vachanam tava. Whatever you tell me now, whatever you have told me I will do, whatever you are going to tell me now, I am going to do is I am completely surrendered to you. With this, the actual teaching of Gita is over and the final winding up comes, which we will see in the next session, where, Sanjaya, who was narrating this whole thing to the blind king Dhritarashtra, comes back and he's the master of ceremonies. He comes back and he summarizes and ends the whole chapter, which we'll do in the last session. The next session is going to be the last session. We'll complete these 5 verses, and I may say a few things about how to imbibe this knowledge in our own lives, how to come about talking, when should we be karma yogis? What is the meaning of being is it a serial thing? Is it that I do karma yoga for so many years, upasana for so many? Is it like that? What is it that Bhagwan Krishna is trying to tell me? This is what we are going to just discuss after completing the Bhagavad Gita, and a little bit of Mahatmyam of Bhagavad Gita we'll discuss in the last session. And the 90th session, that is the next one on the 16th of February, will be the last session of Bhagavad Gita. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय